You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together with good drinks and good people. Smirnoff is the world's #1 vodka and is an official vodka partner of the NFL. And this year, Smirnoff is giving fans in select areas of the country a chance to win the ultimate game day experience. From tickets to sideline passes and much more, just head to WeDoGameDays.com until November 15, 2024 to enter for your chance to win. That's WeDoGameDays.com. Smirnoff, we do game days.
Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. 21 plus. Ends November 15, 2024. See rules at website for participating area and other important details. Sponsored by Diageo Americas Inc., New York, New York.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. If you're a smoker or dipper looking to make a change, you really only need one reason to do it. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you can find many. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch. It's made with only 6 simple ingredients. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction, but there's only one Zyn. Learn more about Zyn and find your reason to make a change by registering online at Zyn.com.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
This segment is presented by LinkedIn Jobs. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prep. Terms and conditions apply. Ryan Seacrest.
David Samson has an opinion. David Samson. Ryan Seacrest probably wouldn't talk at the exact moment that his partner was going to
You got to
talk.
lay out there.
Yeah,
you got to know that joke's coming.
I've got to lay out there. Okay, very good. David Samson of Nothing Personal fame is with us now, and I have an assortment of questions to ask him inside and outside of sports. But let's get him in on our towel discussion here for a second. You guys would assume, if you had to take betting odds on this,
obnoxious towels,
that for sure he's got monogram towels. Correct? We're agreeing that there are. Oh, look,
absolutely.
He's shaking his head. No, he will
absolutely not.
All right, so
expensive towels.
Tell us about your towel situation, please.
I heard what all you said, and I am just blown away. I've got towels that have strict assignments, and they are in certain rooms for certain purposes. So in the bathroom, there are 3 hooks on the door. You have the bath towel. That is used for when you get out of the shower for your body. Then you've got a towel that is used for your ass. Then you've got a towel that's used for your face. And so you know which towel to use for which part of your body. So therefore, you would never have that happen. Secondly, if a guest uses a towel, and I keep towels in the guest room that are not for show, they're for use, but after every use, they are washed because I wouldn't want a guest to repeat a towel. Thirdly, I put napkins in the bathrooms because then people can use the napkins to dry themselves with a garbage can right next to the door if they feel as though the towel may be dirty.
The napkins sometimes break up when you're washing your hands and use a napkin to dry them. They break up and then they have a little residue and it's like, ugh, disgusting.
That's a fantastic point, which is why you have to use 4-ply napkins. Great point. You can't use like the Dixie cup napkins.
You also don't consider the climate at all in any of your consumption, correct?
That's not true at all. That's not true at all. I only do full loads of laundry. Full, like packed.
Thank you for that.
The jokers laugh back there as the world actually burns. one David Samson towel at a time.
David, I could go into your bathroom at any given time, and there is an ass towel just hanging center between 2 other towels.
It's in an order. You wouldn't know because I just told you. Now you know the order of the hooks, but I do that wherever I am because I don't understand the concept that people do where they use a bath towel and they use it for their front and their back. Do they remember which side they've used if they're using the same towel?
Well, first of all, everything's
David, you're clean.
But the idea of using 3 separate towels after you take a shower is serial killer behavior.
I'm literally trying to figure out your system. Your system is you have one towel that you use for your entire body, including the taint, the ass, every part of your body, one towel.
Yours is way more complicated. I guarantee you've used the ass towel on your face before an accident. You've done it.
Oh, I guarantee you I haven't.
No way. No chance. He's a germaphobe. He knows exactly. Look, let me explain something to you. This I know about David Samson if I know no other truth. Wherever he is on earth, he knows where that ass towel is. And that towel.
The only thing.
I may know nothing else about him, but wherever he is anywhere in the earth where that ass towel has been used, it's not getting near his face. No chance. That's why it exists.
The only thing you know.
I'm going to break into your house and just rearrange your towels.
It's also especially dangerous because do you or do you not have a sense of smell? I can't remember.
Yeah. He doesn't.
So I don't, but that's not relevant. I didn't start this just post-COVID in 21. This has been a thing. Now, I was made fun of in college because when you're in a dorm situation where you share a bathroom and you share a room with someone, it's a totally weird thing that you have to do with your hooks and your towels because people tend to come into your dorm room and think, oh, that's an available towel to use. And that was the beginning of people understanding certain things of mine I do not want touched.
When it comes to you being an organizational person, what would you regard as your strangest obsessive compulsive or anal quality compared to others?
Well, I can only compare it to the people who I'm around. I am very, very organized when it comes to the dishes and when it comes to my clothing, and that I don't want to wear. I happen to live with someone who wears the same pair of 3 underwear because you wash them, put them back on top, and then you just wear the same ones. I don't get that. When I do wash, I put them on the bottom of the pile. When I do dishes, I put the dishes on the bottom. It takes an extra second because you have to lift like the 8 dishes you didn't use out of the cabinet, put the 2 dishes you did use on the bottom, and then put the 8 on top back. And that way you get equal and even use of all of your stuff. I do that with silverware, dishes, socks, underwear, shirts. As a matter of fact, I do that with everything.
You rotate your silverware.
I rotate. Yes. Otherwise, you're using the same 2 forks. I don't even understand the concept of people not doing that.
He just blew my mind with that. I just realized I have plates that I've never used before. Like those 5th and 6th ones down, I've never used those.
Do you have plates that you've never used before? I'm going to say half of my plates I've never used before. I'm going to say half of them.
That means that you're not wearing your things out at an even pace. So how do you know when they have to be replaced?
I mean, it's just a plate. It works every time.
Do plates get worn out?
That's what I've never looked at my plate like, oh man, this one, I need to change this one out.
Silverware get worn out?
No.
Yeah.
But you're using the same fork. It's fine. You can criticize it all you want. I'm not going to change what I do. It works for me, and it's very easy to do. It's not like a sickness I have. It's not hard to put 2 forks underneath 10 forks when you're in your silverware drawer.
I'm not criticizing. I'm asking the question, does my fork get worn out?
I believe that forks get worn out because the constant in the mouth, some people put their teeth on the fork, which is obviously disgusting when they eat.
Yeah,
that drives me insane. I
that
hate
scraping
that
noise.
The fork, I've got to say, I think most people listening to this would say the fork's lifespan is plus 20 years.
Never thought about it.
I'm thinking most people listening to this are saying the fork is not slowly rotting one mouth bacteria at a time. It's going to endure for decades.
Well, you can especially do that if you're using one fork time and time again. I think you're lowering the useful life if you're using the same thing. How about looking at your skivvies? Don't you have to replace them more if you wear the same 2 pair every other day?
Skivvy's a great term used by 80-year-olds all over our land. At Le Batard Show, over under on age of person who uses skivvies, 80 years old, over or under. Also put on the poll at Le Batard Show, expiration day of the average fork, 20 years plus or minus.
I'm taking the over like by another 20 years. Like when I bought silverware when I moved to Florida, because it was the first time I ever needed to like buy silverware, I was like, I'm going to have this silverware till I'm like 65 years old. That was my thought process. I mean, I better pick something sleek because I'm going to have this for the rest of my life, baby.
How often do you turn over your silverware, David?
Switch out the sets of silverware?
No, like new silverware. You're like, when are you due for new silverware?
I have a useful life of stuff that just rotates in different parts of my life. So there's premium silverware, which is to be used for dinner, secondary silverware for lunch, and then for guests, there's a 3rd set, and it's priced that way. And that for guests, you have like plastic or the sort of Costco type silverware, and that stuff is the 10 years. My silverware is probably every 5 years. It's not all that expensive.
You got guest silverware?
Well, yes. I don't want guests using what I use.
Look,
that's gross.
Let me explain something to you. He is in a place where he's making sure that guests are using different things than him, and he is fully aware at that time of where his ass towel is. Like wherever it is, he is in the world. In the world, he knows that. Look, he's building a stadium over here for the Marlins, and he knows where the ass towel is. Like these are the things that his head is occupied by.
David, how much would I have to pay you to take a bite of a sandwich that I've already bitten?
For you to take a bite of my sandwich that I've already had?
I've taken a bite of my sandwich, and then I'm holding it over to you, and you have to take a bite from the same spot I took a bite from.
I just wouldn't.
There's got to be a number.
There is a number. Yeah, obviously there's a number, but it's a big number. It would require your dad's help, is my guess. But I am not that interested in that game.
Let's do this.
Wait, but what could be the single most disgusting thing in your mind in terms of something that you'd have to share as a germaphobe with someone here? Which is the one in your imagination that is most troubling to you that we'd have to pay the most for to get you to do?
Easy. Putting on someone's stained underwear.
Ew.
Wow,
Christ,
aggressive. Yes, no one.
I was going to say sharing a burrito.
Yes, okay. Yes, that was an easy one. I'm sorry I made it so easy. Can you get a little more human and do something that the rest of us would also maybe do that you're disgusted by?
I don't share straws.
Okay, I don't.
What if you're romantically involved with the person with whom you're sharing the straw?
It wasn't the reason I'm divorced, but it definitely came up. Is you're willing to have sex with me, but you will not share a straw. And I found that to be a reasonable boundary.
That's a great argument, by the way. How did you counter that?
I said it's disgusting to share a straw.
The judge banged their gavel after that one.
Yeah, it was a good one. That's why there's a divorce. I had no answer. I had to run.
David, your thoughts here on Joel Embiid's suspension, 3 games and $1 million, not insignificant, $1 million for putting his hands on a reporter.
Well, I think it should have been more. I just was surprised what Joe Dumars did, and you've got the basketball experts right there in your studio. Let me tell you my reaction as a front office. I went to see Joel Embiid after speaking to the league, and I said, all right, your knee's good to go right now. He got healthy really fast, and he's serving the suspension Wednesday night, Friday, and Sunday, so he's ready to go for the Emirates in-season tournament. And I don't like how that worked, because the way Joe Dumars stated it was that when Embiid is able to play, the suspension will start. I'm not sure when Embiid was going to come back. He hadn't played all year, and all of a sudden he gets suspended. Hey, I'm good now. I would have played today, so this counts as game 1. So I am not in favor. I would have had him do it later in the season, or I said it on Nothing Personal, and you said it on your show. I love the idea of making him play games instead of sitting games as his punishment.
Do you have any thoughts? Because I heard this on Nothing Personal, and I haven't heard it elsewhere. Have you guys heard a lot of people saying the NFL is in bad shape? That the NFL is in bad shape. Have you guys heard that many places? Never mind that there are, a lot of 2-win teams and some of the teams are shitty, but you have, what do you mean? You have said on Nothing Personal the NFL is in bad shape.
I want to clarify. I mean, it was a full segment. I love that you heard the snippet. I really do. But here's what I said. For the first time this century, they have 9 teams after week 9 with 2 wins or fewer. That's never happened this entire century. And what Roger Goodell has been craving is this parity. He wants to live in this world of mediocrity. And what's happened is it's actually gone the other way. And you've got a huge band now, a large standard deviation between teams that are good and teams that are bad. And it's gone against what he's been trying to do. So when I say the NFL is in bad shape, because they had a goal and they're not reaching it because so many teams are so bad.
What's the movie you're reviewing for us this week?
So I watched this yesterday. I hope some of you watch this, please. It's called Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. It's a new documentary on Apple TV. Do I go for the room?
I know the story, and I'm interested in the story.
I remember when it was released, it did very well in the festivals, and I was waiting for it to come out on streaming. So
I imagine it's very hard to watch.
It is extremely hard to watch, and people may not remember the story. because I thought I remembered the story. And it turns out that through home video and through all sorts of interesting ways that they made the movie, you find out what he went through truly after the accident, what the family went through, and what the children went through. And while you could call them children of privilege and people of privilege, there was nothing privileged about their life. And when you look at the son, the first time he's on camera, the little boy named Will Reeve, it is mind-boggling. He looks like Superman, but he hasn't had the life of Superman, because at the end of the day, we make fun of celebrities and billionaires and whatever you all do. This guy lost his parents. Money doesn't make that feel better in any way. And the truth is, Christopher Reeve wasn't the type of rich that people thought he was. It happens a lot with musicians. It happens all the time, I mean, with pro athletes who everyone assumes they retire and never have to work again, and it's just not accurate. It's a really good documentary that has a chance to be shortlisted for an Academy Award.
My dad just texted me and said he also rotates used items.
What?
This is apparently a common thing.
Is it a common thing of certain?
Or they have the same mental illness, I'm not sure.
Age bracket, tax bracket. Speaking of mental illness, we've got a legitimate debate, I would think, between how Jessica feels about marathons and how David Samson feels about marathons. I believe hot take right now. I believe we could do first take with Jessica and David arguing about the merit of marathons.
What is the negative position you're taking?
I think that the worst thing that Lehman could tell me if I came home from work today was, hey, I'm going to start running marathons.
Oh, because he'll be apart from you training, you mean?
No. No, because there will be an expectation that I go to the marathons that he's running in and wave from the sideline.
Jessica, I'm glad you brought that up, because over the weekend, obviously, the New York Marathon happened, and I was staggered at how many people I know who are like, I'm over here at the marathon standing outside in the cold, just holding a sign. I'm like, I'm from New York City. I've never done that in my life. Never felt the need to ever be out there to see people run. If anything, it was always a pain in the ass because you can't get from one side of town to the other because it shut down all the streets.
Yeah, I was in New York on Sunday. Same thing. I wanted to see some of my friends. I walked outside. I turned around. I was Homer Simpson's dad. I walked right back inside. I was not going anywhere on Sunday. But
I can only tell you.
Go ahead, David.
No, I'm sorry, but we need you. You as a spectator, it's so helpful to the runners. The sound, the noise, the cheering. You put your name on the front of your jersey and just strangers are cheering for you and helping you go when you don't think your body can go. So New York is the best marathon in the world in terms of spectators. The wall of sound on First Avenue off the 59th Street Bridge is like nothing you've ever heard. And I'm not asking, Lehman wouldn't be asking you to go watch. It's really hard to be a spectator. You're right. But encouraging people to do marathons and taking that first step, it's an amazing thing that I would hope that you'd all be behind, is the level of discipline required to have your body do something that, is hard to do.
I think this guy is the bigger hero than anyone running in the marathon. This is the guy that uses a broom to shoo people away from
unregistered
runners away from the track. He is just in the middle of the street. I don't know how he spots them from a mile away, and he's like, "Get out of here!" And they're like, "No, I'm going to keep going." He's like, "No."
Is he an actual official? Like, people are listening to him, and do they have to?
In a bathrobe with a broom? You think he's an actual official?
People are listening to him. Look, this lady's like, "All right, I'll leave."
Because if someone with a bathroom and a broom comes up to you and tries to change the rules of society, you'll listen because they're crazy.
So that's one of the great volunteers. I would shout out to so many of the thousands of people who volunteered during the marathon. What's happening there is you sweep the cups after a water station because it gets super slippery for the runners.
Okay.
So she's sweeping the strewn cups that people have taken water and thrown on the ground. There's volunteers who sweep that away.
Dan and me were on the same page. We thought he was like the Sandman at the Apollo, right? He's sweeping
that's my bad.
I think, David, though, to go back for a second, it's not that I don't think that the people that are cheering on the marathon runners are incredible and they're showing support, and it would be incredible to run in one of these races. It's just that I don't want to ever be doing that for my boyfriend, personally.
And you can just be honest with him, and that's totally fine. But the funny part is that you're saying that now. When you see the time, effort, and dedication that he would put into training just to get to the start line, you would go and watch him because you love him that much.
No, she wants to watch Notre Dame on Saturday. David, thank you. Good seeing you.
Take care.
Hey folks, it's Mike. Put the town on alert. This weekend begins the first edition of the Choque de Gigantes tournament right here in Miami, Florida. This 6-game tournament will run from November 8th to the 10th at Lone Depot Park. It's featuring the best league teams from Venezuela, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. Game Time is offering 10% off on Choque de Gigantes tickets until Friday, November 8th. Game Time has this great feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting into your favorite games even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. With Game Time Picks, it helps make curation easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater, and so much more. It also has all-in pricing, which for me is key. I hate it when I check out and I see all sorts of additional fees. Well, with one click of a button, you see all-in pricing, so there are no surprises at checkout, and you also get panoramic seat views. Take the guesswork at buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DAN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DAN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time!
Stugotz here for my friends over at Simply Safe. The holiday season is right around the corner. That means you're away more, and burglars know it. That means you need to protect your home. Right now, Simply Safe is giving exclusive early access to its Black Friday sale to Batard Show listeners. Simply Safe is the home security I trust to keep my home and family safe. Simply Safe is a new way to protect your home that stops intruders before they break into your home. Old school systems only take action once someone is already inside your home. That's too late. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it even happens. If someone's lurking around or acting suspiciously, those agents see them in real time, talk to them directly, set off your spotlight, and even call the police before they've had a chance to break in. Simply Safe is offering my listeners exclusive early access to their Black Friday sale. This week only, you can take 60% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is their best offer of the year. Head to simplysafe.com/DLB to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this holiday season. Don't wait. This offer won't last long. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with Simply Safe. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team, faster and for free. As Metalwork Media continues to grow as a content studio, we strive to hire only the best and most qualified candidates. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, they have made it easy for us to find them. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So, if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prep. That's linkedin.com/prep to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Dan Le Batard.
Sugar daddies. These things, I'm telling you.
I love sugar daddies.
They get stuck in your teeth. Like you can't chew them. They're like impossible to chew. They are impossible to chew.
Every day. Stugotz.
Yeah,
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Hey guys, welcome back to Gen CFB. This is a pimple patch, all right? I got to say it, I get zits. I'm not proud of it, but I do. But I take care of it, so don't worry about it.
It's a cute little cloud.
It's cute. No free ads, but Starface, they do good stuff.
That is adorable. Lucy, hey, how we feeling after the first college football playoff rankings came out last night?
Outside of the zit, I'm okay. But within the college football playoff rankings, they always I never feel a ton of things after the first one because I know it's just designed to make me angry. And I don't want to use up all my anger right now, knowing that I am going to need it in 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's true. I'm feeling the same way, and I'm also feeling the cheesiest this season with Cheez-It. So we're going to talk a little bit about the college football playoff rankings that came out on Tuesday, and then we're going to talk about a couple great rivalry performances from Week 10, and of course do our preview for Week 11. I can't believe we're already going into Week 11. It just blows my mind how fast the season goes by, Lucy. But what was your main takeaway, thought after seeing these playoff rankings?
It's the same issue I have every single time the playoff rankings come out, that I'm like, what are your metrics? Like, what are we ranking things off of? Because I don't know. It's quality wins, it's quality losses, it's eye test, it's all of these different things that nothing seems to align with. This one's interesting because there's 12 teams now. Obviously, that changes everything, and there's so much more room for things to change over the next few weeks. But Penn State being ranked 6 above Indiana, I thought was kind of crazy. I understand that Penn State did have a close loss, but Indiana has no close wins. They have no losses. They have beat every team by 8 million points. They did trail this week, but ended up winning still by 37. So, like, I don't know. It's just, it feels like they're sowing the seeds for just kind of teams we expect in the playoff to be there, not necessarily based off of how they've played, where they rank compared to other schedules, whatever. They just make shit up.
Indiana's ranked number 8, like you said, behind Tennessee and Penn State. And so there's a question of how much preseason expectations and rankings really weigh on the committee, even this far into the season. Because I think if Indiana were ranked in the top 25 going into this college football season, they'd be ranked a lot higher this week, at least a couple spots higher, at least higher than Penn State. And obviously, like you said, it's only the first week. Indiana's playing Michigan this weekend, where they're a big favorite. And I think that will be a good boost for them, even though we know this Michigan team is not as elite as it was last year. They've lost a handful of games. That'll be a good comparison test, because we saw Texas play against Michigan earlier this season, and we saw a healthier Michigan team even in that game. So I think things will change, obviously, as more games get played. Alabama and LSU still play this weekend, so it's going to change very quickly. But I'm with you on Indiana, and I wanted to bring up Ward Manuel's comments about Indiana and Penn State it's actually this question was about specifically why Penn State was ahead of Tennessee and BYU, Lucy. So last weekend we saw Penn State and Ohio State play each other. Obviously, Ohio State won. And Ward Manuel said this: Penn State lost to the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes, and it was a game that went back and forth, and obviously a game that could have gone the other way. It was back and forth. True or false? Do you agree with that statement?
This game has not been back and forth for 10 years. Like, what are we talking about?
He also said they also have wins over Illinois and Southern Cal in overtime, an opening win at West Virginia, which is difficult to play. So we looked at their body of work.
Okay, close wins against USC. Those are losses. Those are losses. Burt Bielema cannot be the standard. You can't say you beat Burt, so you should be a top 10 team.
Right. And that also, well, I'll keep moving because we could pick through this, I think, very easily. But yes, like USC has really fallen off a cliff this year. They benched their quarterback this weekend. They're moving on after just another awful performance. So the next thing he said was Tennessee has an impressive win over Alabama. True. And wins over North Carolina State and Oklahoma. Oklahoma, okay. They're 4-1 against teams above 500. The loss at Arkansas was something we discussed a lot. So looking at the resume, looking at what we've seen, the offensive performance, their tight end Tyler Warren, this is back to Penn State now, is a dominating force on offense. I think Penn State, in terms of their body of work and what the committee saw in terms of their body of work, came to the ranking at 6 and Tennessee at 7.
Okay.
So this is like the reasoning. And when you get into the nitty gritty, Lucy, that is also my reaction. I'm just like, okay.
All right.
I think BYU should be higher. They're undefeated. I think Indiana should be higher. They're undefeated. If they lose, they'll go back down. There's still a month left of football.
What's the point of hyping up Tyler Warren if James Franklin doesn't use him when absolutely necessary? Does it matter then? Like, what are we doing? You don't just get to name. If we're just naming tight ends, then you better put Iowa in the top 10.
I mean, put Michigan up there too.
Exactly.
Like, there's a lot of good tight ends. We're making good tight ends this year. Yeah. It's just it's an interesting process, one that we were going to obviously keep an eye on, because while I like that we get to see the College Football Playoff Committee's like thought process and reasoning starting this week, there's always some baffling things that happen in the first ranking, like Missouri at 24.
What are we doing? And they have like talked about like we're using the eye test. That's why Indiana's in the top 10 despite having not a very strong strength of schedule. If you are using the eye test with Mizzou, you should go see an ophthalmologist. They're bad. They're not good.
No. Okay. So we talked about the sort of undefeated power conference schools. Any surprises with you seeing Boise up there at number 12?
I was a little surprised that they were ranked as high. I think that Boise State is in such a good position right now. And it's kind of the interesting thing with this playoff is that it actually applies to everybody. You win out and you're already in the top 10, top 12, you're good. It's their spot to lose. I think I saw a lot of discourse just about wow, that 5-12 matchup is really going to suck. Boise State's very good. They challenged Oregon this year. They have the best player in college football. I think that they'll stick around in that spot. I don't necessarily know if I see them jumping a lot higher. I have a hard time imagining that a 2-loss SEC team would be ranked lower than a 1-loss Boise State team. So I kind of think they're going to end up staying in that spot. I only really see them dropping, not raising at all, which will still keep them in the 12th seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. SMU coming in at 13, I think, again, is because you saw BYU go down to 9. SMU's only losses to BYU. So that sort of puts them in that place. Clemson all the way down to 23 after losing to Louisville. Now Louisville is ranked in the top 25. Miami, that really helps Miami because they beat Louisville earlier this season. It also helps Notre Dame because they beat Louisville earlier this season. Iowa State, brutal loss last weekend, Lucy. They're at 17. Do you see a world in which the loser of the Big 12 or the ACC makes the playoff if it is one of the undefeated teams losing to a 1-loss team?
I think that if Miami loses, they could still very much make the playoff, but I don't think that applies to anybody else. The Big 12 has just it's absorbed all of what was left of the Pac-12 in the sense that they're just beating the literal shit out of each other. So, I don't see if you win the conference title, you're in. And I think that's what it's going to take. I don't see BYU losing again and then making it because I just genuinely think that if you look at this again, if there's a 2-loss or a 3-loss Big Ten team that has more brand value than BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, even though Kansas State had a horrible loss, they're not making it. I don't think they'll ever pick a Big 12 team over a Penn State, over
Big Ten bias.
Any sort of big, they're going to pick Alabama over BYU every single time.
Well, let's move on maybe to our rivalries from Week 10, Lucy, unless you have any other thoughts on the playoff.
I would be okay if I didn't hear quality losses for a while. Shout out Billy, I guess. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was a big Billy Gill thing with the NFL. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened last weekend now. This is sort of a crossover topic. Vandy versus the College Football Playoff Committee. Lucy, Vanderbilt was the only team that was ranked in the AP poll this week, but was not in the College Football Playoff top 25. What the hell, man?
They spent the whole show talking about how the SEC's never been better, but you don't put Vanderbilt in there. Half of the reason when they were going through the playoff where they were like, wow, Mizzou 24. I guess it's because of that quality win over Vanderbilt. And then you're not going to put them in there? Don't be disrespectful. Don't be rude.
They said that about Texas, too. They were like, Texas beat Vanderbilt on the road. I'm like, well, then
where are it? Put them in the ball.
But
Justice.
Vanderbilt obviously coming off of a great win over Auburn this past weekend, which is another big rivalry from Week 10. Diego Pavia versus Hugh Freeze. Lucy, what's going on?
I don't know if you can call it a rivalry because that would require Hugh Freeze to win against Diego Pavia ever. And that has not happened. He is 0-3 against our superhero, savior of college football, Diego Pavia. He beat him Diego Pavia won while at New Mexico State over both Liberty and Auburn. And then this weekend, Vanderbilt beat Auburn, I believe, at Auburn, which has pushed Hugh Freeze to a worse record than Brian Harsin had. But they're not ready for that conversation quite yet. Yeah, this isn't even a rivalry. This is,
an ass kicking.
This is an ass kicking, and it's one we like to see. And I think it's really disgusting of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee to not acknowledge it.
Yeah, I agree with you. We need to respect Vanderbilt. People are like, oh, Cal is only 6 points away from being undefeated. Well, what about Vanderbilt? They lost their games by some pretty small margins. And so they should be, not that Cal is ranked either, as they shouldn't be. They lost to Florida State. But anyways, I digress. There was a little bit of a frosty handshake, maybe a budding South Florida rivalry this past week. It was one of the weekday games. I think it was Friday night. Might have been Thursday night. I can't even remember. All the days blend together right now. But Alex Golish and Tom Herman with an icy, frosty, no handshake thing after USF and FAU played. Lucy, what? Is this a budding rivalry now?
I think it's a rivalry between the two coaches, not between the two schools. This game was a blowout. So my understanding of this situation was the handshake happened. We'll have a video. I'll narrate it for you. And then so Alex Golish ignored Tom Herman as he went for the handshake. And then Tom Herman followed him back and was like tapping him and whatever.
Yeah.
And so this is in relation to USF beat the literal shit out of FAU this weekend. They crushed them. They won by double digits.
44-21.
Yes. And USF decided to go for 2 when they clearly didn't need to do that. However, reverse Uno card, this happened last year in the same situation, but FAU under Tom Herman decided to go for an onside kick when it was unnecessary. So it was just a little bit of like back and forth. I think it's valid. If you can't, don't dish it if you can't take it.
I heard that Tom Herman or one of his staff members had made a mean comment about USF in the offseason, which I couldn't find. But like you said, there was a big like, I want to shake your hand moment on the field post game that was very funny.
I went and like read up on I was reading just like the worst, like most bummy articles ever about this. That they were like, this is not a real source, but there was like, he said stuff about his family and his background and where he came from. And I'm like, what are we talking? I didn't think it was real. So that's why I'm saying it with a caution here. But
apparently he said like, we don't like them and I hope they don't like us. But seems like there's more to it.
Yeah. The way I read it was like, Alex Golish being like, I hate Tom Herman's family, or vice versa. I don't know. It doesn't seem. I read it and then I looked. I said, I don't know if this is a website I should be on. I think I'm gonna need to take my MacBook to Apple Care after visiting this website.
Again?
So again, my laptop shattered internally, and I have a zit. I've just been going through a lot recently.
Oh, Lucy,
it's okay. Everything's cool. Don't worry. At least our country's in a good spot. So. But yeah, that's my takeaway. Everything's awesome.
Well, we already mentioned a little bit about Penn State and Ohio State. There was another budding rivalry. This has been ongoing for a couple of years now. Penn State fans versus James Franklin. Now, I know that there's a lot of Penn State fans that are like, James Franklin's done great things to this program, and we're actually in a really good spot, even though we can literally never beat Ohio State. Like, this is the right coach for us. He's done good things here. There's also a lot of Penn State fans that were heckling James Franklin after the Ohio State game. Lucy, break this down for us.
There were definitely more heckling than not. So this was the game we were at, and obviously the game ends, and I look over by the student section, and Texas has started just the nastiest trend. Everybody's throwing trash. So all the Penn State fans are throwing water bottles and trash onto the field. They go over the PA, and they're like, hey, stop throwing trash. That's not allowed. Okay, people are starting to leave the stadium, and then they're like, well, thank you guys for coming out, blah, blah, blah. You guys can tune in to the James Franklin radio show. And the second that they said James Franklin, it was the loudest I heard the stadium the whole day. Just a barrage of boos. We tried to make our way into the locker room, which, by the way, Penn State's locker room, fans can wait outside of it because it's how they have to get through the stadium. So there are fans being held off. There's a lot of people there. James Franklin ends up getting in an interaction with a fan in the stands who is, telling him he sucks or whatever. And James Franklin's like, tell me your name. If you're going to say it, be bold enough to tell me your name, which most of the time I'm all for hey, if you're going to say something shitty, you should be held accountable for it. But I don't know if this was the right time and place for that, James. I feel like maybe we could
just ignore it.
Yeah, maybe we could have just left this. But the kid just turned around. It didn't tell him his name. Also, just lie, say a fake name, just Seymour Butts or whatever, and then bam, you got James Franklin so bad.
Seymour Wiener.
There we go.
Mets fan legend. Yeah, oh man, yeah, it was it's not a great moment.
And then as he walked into the locker room, as that happened, there were all these fans lined up, and they were all chanting "Fire Franklin" as he walks by. Ooh. It was like a public just stoning in a sense, which I would normally feel bad for him. However, Penn State fans have watched that game 8 times in a row, and it's played out exactly the same. And it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling.
And so have we, college football fans. And I'm sick of it. I'm boycotting Penn State, Ohio State until Penn State wins that series. I'm over it. Two other nice little rivalry moments this weekend, Lucy. Shane Beamer versus a random SEC team in the top 10 on a random night on a random season in college football. How does he keep pulling this off?
It's got to make Penn State fans so mad to be like, how do you get to do this once a year? What do you mean you get to beat a top 10 team once a year? That can't be allowed. Yeah, South Carolina has really taken on what like Purdue sort of was to the Big Ten for a few years, where they're like, you don't want to see him. You don't know what you're going to get, which they played incredibly well. I think what was so insane about this game, this win over A&M, was that they dominated. It wasn't a close game by any means. Like the score was closer than it actually was. Looked like a great atmosphere. Made me sad that I didn't get to go to the night game and I went to the day game where
you could
they
have climbed
lost.
over the hedges.
I know, it looked cool. It made me so sad because I was like, why did you guys not do this against Ole Miss? I would have had way more fun. But insane win because they lost. But
by a lot.
Yeah, and then Shane Beamer brought his wife into the locker room and they sang her a song, and he seems just like a real fun, cool guy. So yeah, South Carolina just has this energy. They did the same thing to Tennessee a few years ago. They used to do this to Georgia all the time. They're just like, we may not have the best season ever, but we'll ruin yours.
Yeah, their defense outplayed Texas A&M's defense, and Texas A&M just like they couldn't stop South Carolina. That was a really fun one. Before we move on to our Week 11 preview, Lucy, do you want to talk about Pitt and Iowa State fans versus the AP poll, Mike Norvell versus 2024, or Clemson fans versus other Clemson fans?
That's tough. Oh, well, I always like talking about how Florida State has won one game this season, which is not good. That's bad. Carolina beat them this weekend. Shout out Taylor. I think I want to go Pitt and Iowa State fans versus the AP poll. Not very happy campers, especially Iowa State fans. I'm on that side of Twitter. They were like, we shouldn't be 11 sharing a spot with Clemson. We're better than Clemson. We should be number 1. We're the number 1 team in the world. We haven't lost. And then they lost.
Yep. I saw a lot of Pitt and Iowa State fans last week when they were both undefeated, really mad at the AP poll voters, and then both proceeded to lose, which then, I mean, it goes to show you, Lucy, even if you're ranked, even if you're undefeated, it's hard to go undefeated in a college football season. It's hard to win games, and now we're entering November, which is when it gets even harder. There's going to be weather at play. Injuries are piling up for a lot of these teams, and I think things are going to get slightly more unpredictable down this final stretch, especially as we see teams sort of like play their way out of the college football playoff, which could happen this weekend with number 11 Alabama at number 14 LSU. The first game we're going to preview. Lucy, are you going to this game?
I am going to this game.
Woo-hoo!
I am very, very excited.
Thank God you said yes. I wasn't sure. And then I asked and I was like, this is going to be so awkward if she says no.
It's happened so many times. LSU said yes. We're going to Death Valley. I'm so excited. This week 11 is going to be great. And it is brought to you by Hampton Farms Peanuts. Get nutty with Hampton Farms Peanuts, the official snack nut of the tailgate. I know they're going to have Hampton Farm Peanuts at LSU. They tailgate so well. There's no way they wouldn't have them there.
Yes, you're 100% right. They have the spicy ones too.
I love the spicy ones. Those are the best.
LSU
I don't know
coming
if I'm allowed
up.
to say that.
No, you are. I think we've said that in every episode that we've
They're
had
the best.
Hampton Farm sponsor.
They're the best.
Well, LSU's coming off a bye. We're going to find out if they were able to fix their QB run game. Alabama, I mean, both teams really have to win this game, right? Like Alabama has to win it to stay where they're at number 11 in the college football playoff rankings. LSU lost to USC earlier in the season. They lost to Texas A&M in a very dramatic, not because it was close, but dramatic, and it was shocking fashion 2 weeks ago. So stakes are at an all-time high for this one. It kind of feels like 2022 when Alabama had lost to Tennessee and came into Death Valley, and Brian Kelly finally defeated Nick Saban. But now Brian Kelly against Kalen DeBoer, LSU and Garrett Nussmeier against Jalen Milroe, our unanimous September Heisman finalist, actually our unanimous Heisman September champion. Lucy, I'm picking Alabama to win this game, but I don't feel good about it.
I'm picking LSU, not confidently, Well, when I saw the stat, and I'm sorry, the stat might make you sick, Jess, but Brian Kelly has not lost a night game at LSU so far. Like, they're 13-0 under him for night games, so I think that that's going to play a factor in this. I just am having a hard time buying into either of these teams right now, but Alabama has not looked good. I know they turned it around against Mizzou, but we kind of talked about it. It's Mizzou. This is a playoff elimination game, which is kind of crazy. I think LSU is going to win because I think Alabama really doesn't have anything sort of figured out. Their identity isn't clear right now. Their defense isn't clear right now. And I'm not saying that LSU is in a much better spot, but they have the better environment, which will make a huge difference.
You're right, Lucy. I'm going against the grain here, picking against LSU night games, which I said a few weeks ago when they played Ole Miss. I was never going to do, but I just did it. So I'm picking Alabama. Another big SEC game, Georgia at Ole Miss. Carson Beck. What's going on with Carson Beck? He is throwing picks left. He is throwing picks right. He is a turnover machine right now. And Ole Miss defense, they're pretty good against the pass, Lucy. I don't feel very good about Carson Beck not turning the ball over right now.
It is insane how bad he has looked over the last few weeks. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, like, you don't have Brock Bowers anymore. You don't have Ladd McConkey. You don't have these guys that you've been so accustomed to and these really great receivers. But yeah, he looks shitty. I just don't tend to trust Lane Kiffin in these big game situations. He doesn't seem to win. I do think Ole Miss is very good, but I just think Georgia is better. So I do think Georgia's going to win.
I agree with you. I'm going to pick Georgia. I don't know why. I mean, maybe I'm doing the old eye test because I think Georgia, if you look at like some of the advanced stats and stuff, they could be pretty evenly matched. But I do think Georgia's defense is going to just ball out in this game and make things very difficult for Ole Miss's run attack. And they're going to have to just have Jackson Dart's going to have a really good game to win this one. So I'm taking Georgia. Before we go, we're running out of time, but a couple other big games. We mentioned Michigan and Indiana. They're playing this weekend. Indiana is a big favorite. This is going to be a style points game, I think, for Indiana. A, they got to win the game. But B, I think, Lucy, they got to cover that 14.5 point spread. Do you think they'll do it?
I do. Michigan cannot score points. They cannot do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Michigan's defense is pretty injured right now, not starting all their bests. But if Indiana can score a lot, I don't see Michigan being able to match that. Colorado and Texas Tech. We obviously have not talked about Colorado nearly as much as we probably should have this year because we talked about them way too much last year. But this is a really, really big game. Texas Tech, we know, is capable of upsetting top teams, especially in the Big 12. So Colorado, at Texas Tech, Lucy, are you picking the Buffaloes, the Buffs?
I don't know who I'm picking in this one. The thing with Texas Tech is we've seen that they can pull an upset. We've also seen that they can lose to Baylor. So you're like, I don't know about
okay, but Baylor sneaky is going to make a bowl game.
What's going on with
Baylor? Like, what happened? They beat TCU this weekend.
There's too much happening. There's too much going on.
I agree with you.
I'm going to stay away from this one. I'm leaning towards Colorado, but games in Lubbock always are weird. Something is always off.
Man, I was just reveling in the graphic of Baker Mayfield versus Pat Mahomes that was on Monday Night Football this week, where they showed how many offensive yards and pass attempts and touchdowns they scored in that game from 2016. And I was just staring at Patrick Mahomes with 88 pass attempts. Man, I miss the old Big 12. Those were the good old days.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
All right, Lucy. South Carolina at Vanderbilt. Any chance Vandy pulls off another big upset?
I think Vanderbilt will win. I think South Carolina used a lot of their juju last week. They don't tend to do it back to back. They get like the one and it's awesome. And they're like, all right, well, we did it. Check that box. Let's go to the Mayo Bowl. I'm leaning Vanderbilt on this one. It's also at home for Vandy.
Me too. And I'm wearing my brand new Vanderbilt dad shirt, courtesy of Lehman. So, I hopped on the Vandy bandwagon. So what? What are you going to do?
Anchor down.
Go Doors, I think.
Yeah.
Howdy, folks. It's Mike. It's football season. It's November. The leaves are turning colors and the pads are popping. From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineup, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked way back in 1975. Great taste versus less filling. So, what's the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both the great taste and the fact that it is less filling. Because Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips everything away that you don't need and holds on to what matters most. Holds on to it the way that you'd hold on to a football for ball security high and tight, or the way that you hold on to that beautiful white can on the outside. With the temperature dipping, you don't even need a koozie anymore. How sweet is that? Make your game time taste like Miller time. Tastes great and less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Stugotz here. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. As Meadowlark Media continues to grow as a content studio, we strive to hire only the best and most qualified candidates. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, they have made it easy for us to find them. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prep. That's linkedin.com/prep to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.